Hello, this is Mish from Downtime Distractions with a first look review of a title called Fortify. So before we get started, in the description below is a list of caveats that we must complete before we classify our reviews as a full review. Until that point, they're classified as a first look review, so please check that out for further detail. Okay, so let's get into this game. So, Fortify. It's a real-time strategy game with a tower defense twist. So you need to defend your castle from the attackers whilst you advance through different ages and technologies. So this is brought to us by a developer called Holgerson Entertainment. They're also the publisher. So previous title from these guys is one called Terraform, which is currently on Steam. It's a turn-based puzzle. It has a positive response, so go and check that out if you want to. So these guys were kind enough to give me a key so I could have a first look, and thank you for that. So this title's coming out on the 9th of April. And the price will be $4.99 US. So the game has been released prior to this point. 2010, it was a freeware made completely by one guy, so Jonas. And I believe he made most of the textures in Paint. So impressive effort on that one. And then there was another edition came out in 2013, which had major updates of gameplay and graphics. Then this was greenlit in 2015. So it's been a long journey to get to this point, and it really makes you appreciate it when you can see a timeline like that of 6 years. How much effort these guys have put into it. It's very impressive. Okay, so the game modes. So we have 2 missions. So that is in essence the story modes. So each one of those is the same in gameplay mechanic. So you have your little castle, you got to build it up whilst trying to hold off many enemies, and there's a boss at the end. And a little bit of a story that goes along with both those as well. So then we move on to the multiplayer mode. So that's player versus player. Now it's a bit unique in the way it delivers this, as it is a tower defense game. So each player will have their castle, and you'll build it like normal, but instead of fighting off automatic enemy attacks, you will be able to send attacks to your opponent. So you kind of, I believe it's a bit of a race. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to try the multiplayer mode, as there was no one else around when I've been testing this. Okay, so let's move on to arcade mode. Now that is very simplistic in a way. It's how long can you survive. So every 45 seconds you get a wave of enemies, and they're random and they grow stronger every wave. The difficulty comes with that is that when you're killing enemies, you get the gold from them. But with arcade mode, it slowly dwindles down, so there's an attrition on that gold, and it's going to get harder and harder as things go on. So that one is quite tricky. We also have an achievements and a leaderboard as well. Okay, so those were the game modes. So let's talk about the story, the main driver behind the 2 missions that you're going to do. So there is an evil, I guess he's probably call him a wizard if you want to, and he has tapped and figured out how to use dark magic. So he is now turning all the lesser creatures like the trolls, the dragons, against the kingdom, and you're part of the kingdom and you're trying to defend it. So as waves come at you, every now and again you'll get a bit of a break, and you'll get a message from the king saying, good job, you're doing a good job, have these resources, have this stuff. So really that's it regards the story. So let's jump in and I'll show you the menu option, and then I'll show you the basics of the gameplay. Okay, so the options menu. As you can see, this is it. This is not really an acceptable amount, even for a little indie title. I mean, I appreciate having the option to do a few things here, but it's not enough. I'd like to see more. Also, something to note, the sound is not done correctly, I would say. Like, even with these options here, with the music really low, the music is still quite loud. The sound effects are not too bad, but the level of the voice acting is inaudible for a large part of it. And that is not ideal at all, because there's a lot of impact lost. So when you're playing a mission mode, you get a story from the king. He delivers an update, and someone reads that to you, and it just sounds like mumbling, unfortunately. So hopefully they could manually boost that, I'd say, because the options here don't really help you out too much. But anyway, let's jump in and have a game of arcade mode, and I'll show you how the user interface works and also the basic game mechanics. Here we are in arcade mode. So let's just go over the UI and then I'll just show you a bit about building. So we have obviously the menu here, the day-night cycle with timings. This is very important because for the mission mode, the nighttime is a downtime where you can actually build stuff. So that is good to keep an eye on it. Here is the health of your castle. Anything touches it or hits it, it'll slowly burn that down. And here we actually, not in this mode, but you can repair it at a cost of gold, but not in the arcade mode. Here's the miner count you have, and here are the resources. So gold is earned by killing enemies. The other resources are earned by things around the map. So the lumber mill is here, quarries over there, and a mine is up the top somewhere. There it is. So you build buildings on those and send miners to them to work away at that and slowly build that resource up. So here we obviously have the build tab, and down the bottom as well you can see you actually get a bit of information on your soldiers. So you can see their health, their XP, because they do level up a little bit, and you can manually force an upgrade as well. If you advance to another age, you can buy for them to be upgraded to that age. Okay, so the build menu, the tabs. So this is the unit one. So we have a few things here. So a sling shooter, an axe thrower, club basher, swordsman, and miners. And we have just basic upgrades to the castle and towers too. So you can chuck on a tower there. That'll help increase range and accuracy for the archers standing on it.
On my way.
And you have, this is where you upgrade to the different age. There's medieval age and one after that as well. And this is the lumber mill and the quarry options here. So if we start this off, build a lumber mill, you can see you get a whole bunch of other options. So you can even upgrade the lumber mill for defensive and to increase population. And you can send the miners there. So now he's off there and he's going to work away and get us some wood. Okay, so we're going to be under attack any second. So let's just position our guys here. So with the positioning, I really do like how easy it is for things like this. So I'm worried that he's not looking in the right direction. So you hold control and you can change the direction of the arcs they're looking at. So it's very nice. It's very user friendly, and you can do things like this as well, where select a few of them, hold right click, and then you can move them to another location and line them up automatically. So everybody up the top, there's a big attack, go, and then it'll just line up nicely. So it's very intuitive, and I like that. And I do like when you have a whole bunch of units like this, and then you just go, everybody get that guy, and everyone really targets in the same area. It's very powerful. It's quite cool. It looks good too.
On my way.
Okay, so I'll just get rid of these, dispatch these guys. So take them out. So a couple of wolves. So as you can see, if I zoom out a bit, the map's, it's not massive, but it's a good size. And so you're going to get enemies coming from all around you. Something to note, if you build these resource gathering places, enemies coming from this direction will stop and attack this. So you need to be able to defend this. And at the current state here, you can see they're just, for the most part, they're out of range. So if someone's attacking back here, you won't be able to hit them until you start upgrading these guys. So there's little intricacies like that you need to be wary of. So let's upgrade. Actually, no, let's get a unit here, and I'll just show you that. So just click on a unit, and they'll slowly build, and they pop out in the middle, and then you can assign them to a role. So that, in a nutshell, is it. But you're going to get more unit types, and you're going to get things, all these actions down here, so you can manually fire a catapult, which changes into a cannon. You can add tar pits around, so you can set them on fire. So with the archers, I don't think I actually have any at the moment. You can use a special key, and they'll fire an arrow on fire to light the tar pits. And you can get a heal as well, so you can click on stuff. So there's a lot of micromanagement, and you've got the constant trying to upgrade the castle here, putting towers on it, upgrading to different ages. All that's looking after this stuff. So you can add spikes to them. You can add pits around them to slow them down. So there's a lot of micromanagement with this title, but I guess that's a good overview. I could go a lot more in depth, but I think that's probably a good place to leave it. Now let's just summarize graphics, audio, and gameplay. Okay, so graphically, let's start with the UI. The UI is very functional. It does exactly what it tries to do. It's just not very pretty when it's doing that. And that's probably the same for the graphics across the board as well. It's all functional, but it's not an attractive game. It does its job, and I mean, there are flaws with it. Probably the worst one I found would be sometimes you lose units out in the wilderness because the colors are sometimes quite similar, darkness, and there's no highlighter over your units, so it's hard to find them sometimes. But apart from that, it's functional. It's just not very pretty. Okay, so let's move on to audio. So with the audio, it struggles as well. There's a real banality across the board with it, unfortunately. Especially with the voice acting. That's made much worse as well, but as I mentioned, the levels aren't right. So in the mission menu, even if you tweak down the audio in the game options, the level of the spoken word from the king is just a mumble in the background. I mean, if they got that level sorted out, it would probably be a lot better. I mean, the audio is functional, and luckily you have a script to read whilst they're reading that, so you can still understand what's going on. But yeah, audio is not really acceptable, unfortunately. So let's move on to gameplay. As I've said many times, the core to any game is really the gameplay. So you can have a game which delivers poorly on graphics and audio, but still have a fantastic game just because of the gameplay. You see it all the time with popular games on Steam. You look at them and visually it's not good at all, but the gameplay pulls it through, and that's really the most important factor. Of course, as everyone likes very nice looking games, very well presented audio, but for indie titles, realistically, you're not always going to get it. But for me, the gameplay in this title shines through quite strong. It's good enough that I've put 4 or 5 hours into it, and I think there's some more replayability in there as well. So with the price tag, $4.99 US for looking at 5 hours gameplay already, I think that's an acceptable amount. So for me, the price tag is acceptable. So the gameplay, it's fun, and it's interesting, and I like how intuitive it is as well. And it's a unique spin on it, which I also enjoy. So for me, gameplay is pretty good, and it really pulls the title out of the rut that the audio and graphics put it in. Something else to note here, there's actually a tournament that the developer is holding with this game. So if you look at the Steam page, 2 days after launch, there's a tournament, and you win keys to provide to your friends, and also I believe there's a bit of a charity aspect in there as well. So check that out. If you're going to get into the game, you might as well jump into that. You can win some keys for your friends, and also I believe the charity is going to get a bit of money from it, so that's quite nice. So summary, graphics, not very good. Audio, yeah, even worse. But the gameplay has pulled this game through. It's fun, it's interesting, and it has replayability. And it's a cheap little indie title, $4.99, a good 4 or 5 hours at least. If you're into a tower defense genre, and you want a bit of a kind of a castle building in there as well, maybe have a look at picking this one up. So I hope this has been a valuable video for you guys. I hope I've helped you make the call to purchase or not, or to wait. And I'll wrap it up here, so please give me some feedback below, positive or negative, it really helps us out. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't, subscribe for more footage in the future. If you like the video as well, share it to your friends, it always helps us out. And I'll see you next time.